Hey, what's going on, guys? This is AndrewChicken, and welcome back to another video. Today, I want to talk about arcade mode and its role within the game right now, because it's a mode that they're attempting to use as a solution to a very big problem, and it's not a perfect solution, and it's sort of a very difficult pickle that the game has put itself into right now as the game gets older and older and loses more and more players. And the reason I'm starting this intro on the queue screen, by the way, is just because I want to get on camera how long this arcade queue is, first and foremost. But to actually get started and understand whether arcade mode has been a success or a failure, we first need to identify what problem arcade mode is even attempting to solve in the first place. So, why are they making arcade the core sort of game mode now for Onslaught, Team Deathmatch, Payload, King of the Hill, all basically bundled into one? Why not have a separate Onslaught, Team Deathmatch, and Payload queue like in times past? Well, the reason for that is simply the player base is too small. This is the fundamental problem that has caused bad matchmaking in every single mode apart from Siege for a very long time now. If you played before arcade in something like Onslaught or Team Deathmatch, you know that the matchmaking there is drastically worse than if you were to queue Siege or, shoot, even in Ranked. So, the reason for that is because there simply weren't enough players in the queue to actually create full matches of high elo players. Because players would be spread out into a bunch of different queues, it made it more difficult to matchmake people more fairly, right? If you have more people in a queue, then you have more chances to create a match that's actually well match-made. And so the thought process with arcade is to first and foremost solve that issue by basically gathering everyone together in one queue. Because if everyone's in one queue, then the matchmaking algorithm is using the maximum amount of players from that queue to pull from, right? So you would only have the Siege, Arcade, and Ranked queues, as opposed to the Siege, Ranked, and Onslaught, and Team Deathmatch, and Payload, and King of the Hill queues, right? You cut down on the amount of queues by half, if not more. I mean, if we want to count Survival as a queue and then throw in a limited time mode there too, you're looking at a very drastic cut down on the amount of queues that you have, and so hopefully it fixes that matchmaking problem. The second the second problem that they're trying to solve with arcade is they're trying to solve the issue where not all modes are available at the same time. By the way, we're just going to play some Shaolin here because he's a fun character, he's a chill character. He hasn't been changed or anything, I just feel like playing some Shaolin, so there you go. This is about arcade, this isn't about the champion we're playing today. But yeah, the way that they were originally trying to solve this issue is by simply rotating in and out certain game modes. So for a long time in Paladins, you had every functional available game mode available at once. When Payload didn't exist, you regularly had, okay, Siege, Team Deathmatch, Onslaught, and King of the Hill available as the 4 modes, and you could select between them, and you could try and, queue for whatever you wanted. But as the game grew smaller, they realized that, yeah, this matchmaking thing is an issue. And so the first thing they tried was, okay, what if we just have 2 modes besides Siege? So we have Siege, and then one patch we have Onslaught and Team Deathmatch. The next patch we have Payload and Team Deathmatch. And then the next patch we have Onslaught and King of the Hill. Or some random rotation like that. And that does certainly help when it comes to the matchmaking, but that, of course, has the problem of, not allowing players to play every single game mode that exists in Paladins. And so Arcade attempts to fix both of these problems. It attempts to fix the issue of not every mode being available at once, because now in Arcade, every single mode is available, including this piece of garbage mode that nobody asked for. Oh my gosh, they really dodged that last match just to give us survival, huh? But yeah, it also attempts to solve the problem of matchmaking being bad. Because, yeah, if everyone's in one queue, then the matchmaking algorithm has the biggest possible pool to draw from to make good matches. But the question is, has it failed? And the reason why we have to ask that question is because I haven't yet told you about the downsides of arcade. And, well, there's really only one very major downside that has caused a lot of problems for a lot of people, and that is the fact that you do not get to choose which game mode you play, and so you might end up in a situation like this where, I freaking hate survival, I do not enjoy this game mode, but I have to play it now, even though I wanted to get a payload match, or something like that. So, that is a very difficult problem to have. And I want to give a little bit more context as to why they thought an arcade mode would be a good idea in the first place. I was actually one of the first proponents of an arcade mode. I was one of the original people who suggested it, way back when they first announced they would be doing a mode rotation. I was like, hey, wait a minute. So in Overwatch, if you just queue for a casual match and role queue, you don't get to choose what mode you play. They just put all the modes into one queue. What if Paladins did the same thing? It works great over in Overwatch, and it does work great in Overwatch. Overwatch, even though it's kind of a it's a questionable game, it's a weird game, we'll just leave it at that. It is still a successful game, a very successful game, and they've been successful even with this sort of arcade mode that they've got going on there, where you don't get to choose your own mode. So what if we did that in Paladins? And so it was kind of based off that model that I guess the devs agreed with me, yeah, it's worth trying out. And they are now trying to do this in full force because they've continued to think it's a good idea, well beyond anything that I've said. So, yeah. When you're starting with the context of Overwatch, though, where like Overwatch pretty much always had its like you could just, you would queue for casuals and you would get the mode that you get and you don't really get to choose. But in the case of Paladins, Paladins didn't start out with being able to choose or not being able to choose whatever mode you want, just accepting the mode that you've gotten. Paladins started, way back in the day, with the ability to choose your own mode. So, by taking that choice away, players feel like they don't have the same ability to choose as they did in the past. It feels like an option has been taken away from them. And Paladins now has this problem where, yeah, an option has been taken away from them, whereas in Overwatch, they never had that problem because they never got the ability to choose to begin with. Or at least, I assume so. I wasn't around for the very original Overwatch, but at least since I've been playing the game, which is many years now, you haven't been able to choose your core game mode if you're just queuing for quick play or even for ranked. So it's a unique problem that Paladins faces, and I think it's contributing to the reason why the mode isn't as successful as I think we hoped it would be. Because I certainly hoped it would solve the matchmaking issue. And, it's had various results of success. I have had some pretty good arcade matches, but I've also had matches that have been extremely lopsided. Kind of like this one is turning out to be, honestly. And the reason why isn't because the matchmaking algorithm is bad, but because I don't think, and I don't have the numbers on this, but I don't think enough people are queuing for the mode. Because they feel like this choice has been taken away from them, and they just want to queue Onslaught, or they just want to queue Team Deathmatch. And it doesn't help that for most of the experience of Arcade so far, it has been competing with another core mode that's actually within Arcade, which is Onslaught. And Onslaught is the most popular mode outside of Siege. So by having the Onslaught queue competing directly with the Arcade queue, it causes problems where Arcade doesn't have nearly as many players as it should have. And yeah, that leads to worse matchmaking. And then, what you have there is, if you have initially bad matchmaking because of low player count, it actually turns into a vicious cycle. And Ouroboros, I'm pretty sure is how you say that word. I forgot, it's been a little minute since I've used that word, okay? Where basically, yeah, because there is a bad matchmaking due to a low player count, fewer people, especially higher level people who want good matchmaking, want to play against, opponents that know what they're doing, will simply not queue for Arcade. They'll just go back to Siege where the matchmaking is good. And then because those players leave, it perpetuates the issue of matchmaking being bad, causing more players to leave, etc., etc. It's actually a similar issue to what Ranked has been facing, where Ranked has its own issues that cause people not to want to play, and then because those people don't play, the issues just get worse. And I think we're now seeing that happen with Arcade mode, which is really sad, because if we were in a different circumstance, I don't think it would be having these issues. Like I said with Overwatch, if Paladins, from the get-go, from the beginning, always had, just Arcade mode, where you didn't get to choose which mode you got, I don't think it would be nearly as much of an issue. And, yeah, also I really do think that they probably shouldn't have launched Arcade mode officially this patch as the one mode to replace all the other modes in tandem with Onslaught. That decision, it simply doesn't make sense to me. So I think that does also hurt it, and first impressions are everything. We've had Arcade as an LTM for a while, but this is the first patch where Arcade has meant to be the replacement for the previous mode rotation that we had. And yeah, not having a good first impression with that is a big deal, because, like, if your first impression with Arcade right now is that it sucks because matchmaking is bad, then why would you try it again in the future? And if you only see arcade mode as the only option and Onslaught is gone, you'd probably be disincentivized to play at all, which is very difficult too. Ultimately, I don't necessarily have any answers. And I think regardless of what they do from here on out, it's not going to be a perfect solution, because it's a very difficult problem that they face. Again, the whole reason why this arcade thing started in the first place was because the game simply doesn't have enough players to have every single mode open as an individual queue all the time. The matchmaking is just too bad with the current player count. So the only perfect solution truly is to restore all queues and actually have enough players to fill them, but that's not simply going to happen anytime soon. As sad as it is. So yeah, it's either do the road rotation like they've been doing and just accept the fact that if you like Payload, you may not be able to play it for multiple patches in a row because it's gone, because it's Onslaught's time to shine. Or have the arcade mode, and players are going to have to accept that, okay, every mode is available, but I might queue 10 arcade matches in a row and not get a single match of Onslaught, even though Onslaught is my favorite mode. It's a really difficult situation to put themselves, or that the game is in, and yeah, I don't know what the way out is, apart from miraculously bringing players back to the game, which maybe they can do something outside of modes entirely to bring people back. Champion number 60 would be very intriguing and could generate hype, for example. Maybe they have a killer plan worked up for Season 8 as well. Maybe there's something truly awesome and hype that they're going to do. Or maybe we just see a Paladins 2. Although, that's, I can tell you for a fact that's not happening anytime soon, because, oh, hello. Maeve, no! I can tell you that's not happening for a fact anytime soon, because Smite hasn't even left its beta for Smite 2. There's no way they're working on Paladins 2 at the same time, and honestly, if Smite 2 doesn't do well, I very much doubt High-Res will be around much longer. That's my pure speculation, of course, and it's worth what you paid for it, which is 0, but I really think they have a lot riding on Smite 2, and honestly, if that doesn't do well, I would never expect a Paladins 2. And even if it does do well, I'm not sure. We'd have to wait like at least a few years for Paladins 2 to even be thought of, I think. But yeah, let me know what you think about the arcade situation in the comments section down below, because yeah, I have done my fair attempt to play arcade and to really dive in and see just how it feels. I've played a lot of arcade matches since it launched this patch, and like I said, I have gotten some good matches, but there are a lot of matches that haven't been good, and every single time pretty much, even regardless of whether I'm solo queue or in a stack, the queue has been about 2.5 minutes long, which is an indication that there simply aren't enough players in arcade mode, and that sucks, man. It really, really sucks. It's just a bad situation, no matter who you are, whether you're the players, whether you're the devs. This game just needs more players, man. But yeah. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and yeah, if you want to support the channel directly and support the game too, and you want to buy some crystals to buy the new event passes or any new skins like that, make sure to check out the Nexus, linked in the description, nexus.gg/AndrewChicken, and yeah, you can buy crystals there and support the channel directly in the process, officially affiliated with Evil Mojo. It's a great deal, honestly. But with all that being said, thank you guys for watching. I will see you all next time. Peace out.